I will be doing a film review on Man of Will. Man of Will is a great and impactful South Korean drama film about Kim Chang-soo. This film was directed by Won Tae-lee and produced by Kim Yong-ho. It was released on October 19, 2017. The film was placed third at the local box office on opening weekend and earned $1.42 million, an increase to $1.8 million in revenue over 4 days. The cast involves a great set of actors. The main cast is Cho Jin-wong as Kim Chang-soo, who plays the Korean independence fighter that becomes the last leader of the provisional government when Japan colonizes Shanghai. Kang Hyung-sik, the prison director, was played by Song Seung-hyun. Jang Jin-young plays Go Jin-sa, the prisoner who leads the Dong-hak peasantry movement and as a result is sitting on death row. Ma Sang-gu, another prisoner who was unfairly imprisoned due to being framed, is played by Jung Man-sik. This film is based on a true story. The historical background of this film involves the story taking place after the assassination of Empress Myeongseong. To rewind a bit, Japan, Russia, and Qing dynasty was fighting for influence over Korea. The Dong-hak Peasant Revolution in 1894 was an armed rebellion by peasants and Dong-hak religion followers, and it gave the Japanese pretext for direct military intervention in Korea. The Korean government asked for China's assistance for the Dong-hak Peasant Rebellion, and the Japanese took advantage of the rebellion to challenge China. Japan ended up winning the First Sino-Japanese War, and as part of the signed Treaty of Shimonoseki in 1895, China acknowledged the full and complete independence and autonomy of Korea, meaning Korea ended their tributary relationship with Qing dynasty and had full independence of Joseon Korea. However, Japan, with the Korean government, put down the Dong-hak Revolution and now held military predominance in Korea. On October 8, 1895, Japanese agents assassinated Empress Myeongseong, also known as Queen Min. The pro-Japanese cabinet then took power and passed the Short Hair Act order, which caused Joseon citizens to be angered. This Short Hair Act order was a controversial reform that involved cutting off the traditional Korean male sangtu, or top knot, and changing traditional attire. Korean boys became men after their hair was put up in a top knot after marriage. Through the act of targeting the top knot became a political tool to emasculate Korean government. This act caused many people, especially the conservative scholars, to protest, and the righteous army was also created. This film starts 5 months after Empress Myeongseong's assassination on March 9, 1896. The film opens up with a fight scene. The main character, Kim Chang-soo, kills a Japanese man. 5 months later, on August 3, 1896, Chang-soo is taken to prison to await his sentence. Meanwhile, Warden Kang Hyung-sik, the prison director, is introduced in a scene while in a meeting with the Japanese. He is very clearly working with the Japanese to ensure that Chang-soo is punished. On September 10, 1896, Kim Chang-soo is tried in Incheon court by the request of the Japanese consulate for killing Kato Hideki, a Japanese man. Chang-soo admits to killing him but states that he did not commit a crime. He had gotten revenge for their empress, who was stabbed multiple times and killed by this Japanese man. He powerfully states that he only did what a man of Joseon should do. Kim Chang-soo is given the death penalty and is sent to the Incheon prison to await his death while waiting for the king to sign off on his execution. Kim Chang-soo meets many people that has a great influence on him. While at the prison, Kim Chang-soo meets another prisoner awaiting death row, Go Jin-sa. Mr. Ko enlightens Kim Chang-soo. He teaches Kim Chang-soo that many of the prisoners were there unjustly. Kim Chang-soo learns about Ma Sang-gu, who was framed, which caused him to land in prison. Kim Chang-soo then helps write petitions for Ma Sang-gu and the other prisoners. One of the guards even asked for his help, and in exchange, Kim Chang-soo was able to get better living conditions for the prisoners, with better food and getting rights to teach the prisoners to read and write. By learning to read and write, he hoped that the prisoners can avoid being victimized. It led to the Incheon prison even appearing in the newsletter as not just being a prison, but a place where prisoners can get smarter and learn to read and write. As a result, the prison director, Warden Hyung-sik, finds out and punishes them. In a meeting with the Japanese, Warden Hyung-sik learns about the Japanese getting rights to build and manage the first railway in Korea. The railway would be from Incheon to Hansing and was a move to modernize Joseon. The Japanese ask for his help for labor from the prisoners to build the railway and pay him off. The prisoners are put to work in bad conditions and get hurt easily. While working on the railway, it suddenly collapses. The prisoners band together in protest after the many deaths, and Kim Chang-soo argues for better conditions. Kim Chang-soo threatens to expose Hyung-sik for stealing the prisoners' money and his bad deeds, and says that even if he is killed, someone else can expose Hyung-sik. That was the reason he taught the prisoners to read and write, to fight against what's wrong. With these better conditions, Kim Chang-soo is in the middle of the lesson when he is taken out for his execution. Right as he is about to be executed, it is stopped by the king's command. The prisoners wrote petitions which were sent to the people above by one of the prisoners, which makes its way to the king. In court, some of the officials argue that saving Kim Chang-soo will put a strain on the relationship with Japan, but others say that there is no diplomacy if they can't protect their own people. The Majesty delays the execution, for this was all he could do. After escaping the execution, Kim Chang-soo, with his prison roommates, escapes prison. The film ends with putting the film in its place in history by saying that Kim Chang-soo disappeared without a trace. In historical context, it was on March 19, 1898, that Kim Chang-soo escaped Incheon prison. 12 years later, Japan annexed Joseon by force. Kim Chang-soo is none other than Kim Gu, the premier of the Provisional Government of Korea. After escaping prison, he dedicated himself to the independence movement. This film's main character is Kim Chang-soo. So, for some historical background that I learned, Kim Chang-soo lived from 1876 to 1949. Kim Gu had joined the Donghak movement, and at 17 he became a district leader of Palbong in a Donghak army regiment. He had attacked the Haeju fort, but was defeated by the government forces. At 20, he attacked the royal army, but failed and had to go into hiding. Based on another source, Kim Gu, also known as Kim Chang-soo, killed a Japanese trader named Tsusonda Chinda Josuke, believing that he was a Japanese army lieutenant who had been a part of Empress Myeongseong's assassination. Like in the film, Kim Chang-soo was tortured and given the death sentence, but escaped when his sentence was suspended by Emperor Gwanggwamu. Kim Chang-soo learned about the importance of education in prison and taught 100 illiterate prisoners. Hwang-sung Shinbo, a Korean newspaper, published about Kim Chang-soo making the prisoner into a school. In 1898, Kim Chang-soo broke out of prison, entered priesthood, and then left to become a principal of a school. When Korea was made a proctor of Japan by the Ulster Treaty in 1905, Kim Gu participated in a protest. In 1908, he became part of the New People's Association, which was a non-violent Korean independence movement. I learned so much from this film. I learned how foreign powers had such an influence in Korea. I also learned how uncomfortable it was to be a guard due to the pressure of those above causing them to do bad deeds. From this film, I learned how easily it was to be put in prison unjustly due to lack of education, like Sung-gu. I think the fact that there were many prisoners that were falsely convicted or didn't even get a trial was partly due to less power and less knowledge. The phrase knowledge is power is true, because with knowledge, the people are more equipped to fight against injustice. In America, slaves were kept illiterate to stop them from gaining knowledge and power. We can see that after becoming more literate, the prisoners were able to write petitions and try to overturn their ruling and plead to the king. It gave them the power to do so. For these prisoners, what Mr. Ko said was very much true. Ignorance was not bliss. This film was very impactful and moving. I really enjoyed watching the prisoners learn to read and write and be able to fight for their justice, as well as the change in the guards also. I also liked watching the king being able to be just in time to fight for his people. Overall, this film was very fun to watch, and I would definitely recommend. Thank you so much.